So what's up with this weird sideways bull market? Is it manipulation? Is it something else? Eight months in a row that it's in a 60k to 70k trading range. It's really weird and it never happened before. Normally, waiting for the US elections could very well be the reason for this 8-month sideways price movement. Just one explanation. To the current 63,000 Bitcoin price, then the RSI would be not this noisy and we would be not that confused about this sideways Bitcoin price. Bitcoin is the next stablecoin, is now a stablecoin because of this 8-month flat period. And I also tweeted 60,000.
Bitcoin's price has been stuck in a sideways range for months, leaving many wondering, is the bull market over, or is this just the calm before the storm? According to PlanB, the crypto strategist behind the stock-to-flow model, there's more happening beneath the surface. In this video, PlanB reveals why Bitcoin's current range between $63,000 and $70,000 is an unusual but important phase in the market. With ETFs, the upcoming halving in 2024, and a unique pre-halving pump, PlanB shares his predictions for where Bitcoin is headed next.
So what's up with this weird sideways bull market? Is it manipulation? Is it something else? Let's discuss this first chart. And Bitcoin closed September at 63,000, and it's the 8th month in a row that it's in a 60k to 70k trading range. It's really weird and it never happened before. Normally, bull markets, yes, it is still in a bull market because it's red dot, bull market. And normally a bull market means price go up. Historically, when it's red, when it's bull market, prices went up in 2011, 2013, 2017, and 2020, 2021. But not now. Now it's sideways. And, I do not believe in manipulation. Yes, it can be manipulation, but not for 8 months. That's something different at work, I think. So another explanation could be that we had a too early pre-halving pump because of the ETFs, and the halving was somewhere here around April, and we even had a new all-time high before the halving, which had never happened before. But basically we pumped from the bottom around 20k to 40k, 60k, 73k, and that is something that's unusual because normally the accumulation phases are quite stable or rising, but not that fast. So yeah, that could be it, a pre-halving, too early pump. But surely, it would have felt different if we had an increase that would go gradually from this 20k to 63k instead of this jump here, this ETF jump, and then flat for 8 months, which feels weird, but the same result with a gradual increase would have felt a lot different, although the end outcome would be exactly the same. So what can we see in the moving average chart? The moving average chart is, it shows the same thing. It has this 8-month flat period here. Note, by the way, that the color is different in the moving average chart. It's months until the next halving, not the phase we're in, not the bull bear market. It's just a timer, and the halving is at month 0. So when blue switches to red. So this is a halving in 2016. This is one in 2020, and this is the latest in 2024. And as we can see, there was a flat period in 2015 as well, quite long, more than half a year. I think it's also 8 months here, but that was a bear market, of course, at around 250k. More comparable, I think, is this flat period here in 2019, 2020. That's around 10,000, little under $10,000, and also a period with a halving in there. That's very comparable, I think, to where we are right now, because back then we also had this pre-halving too early pump, and then COVID that really spoiled the party. But that was basically a 1-month event in the end, because the money printer went on, the QE was started, and then the trigger for the entire bull market. Of course, Michael Saylor started buying Bitcoin here, and later Elon Musk went positive on Bitcoin. But that was sort of the trigger, and it's a bit of the same period, same pre-halving pump situation situation above the moving average. So this black line, of course, is the moving average, and we use it to smooth out the noise. Right now it's 40K, and Bitcoin for the entire 8 months flat period is above that 200-week moving average. Same here in 2019-2020. So yeah, moving average is increasing, just like back then. It's still increasing. So as long as it's increasing, it's okay, in my opinion. And Bitcoin will find its trigger for the next pump. And I have heard that many large buyers are just waiting for the US elections in November. And that makes sense, because why run the risk if you can wait a couple of weeks and have total clarity and certainty? And the risk obviously being a Democratic Biden-Harris win, which is bad for Bitcoin. So whales waiting for the US elections could very well be the reason for this 8-month sideways price movement. Just one explanation.
Bitcoin's sideways trading over the past 8 months might seem stagnant, but according to PlanB, it could be a crucial setup for the next major move. He explains that while the current range is rare during a bull market, it might be tied to anticipation of key events like the 2024 halving and the introduction of Bitcoin ETFs. Despite the sideways movement, the 200-week moving average remains bullish, keeping the long-term outlook positive. What's more, large institutional buyers may be holding back until after the US elections in November 2024, especially with the uncertainty surrounding a potential Biden-Harris win, which could be less favorable for Bitcoin. PlanB's stock-to-flow model continues to project a post-halving price surge, driven by reduced supply and growing demand.
So if we look at RSI, the relative strength index, this chart looks a little bit different because I added this moving average, 12-month moving average in there. The RSI is 63, so very close to this average of 65, this black line. And what we see is that this moving average, again, smooths out all the noise. And for example, here, it was a very clean period where the actual RSI numbers followed the moving average, tracked the moving average, I should say, quite well. But here in 2013, this bull market was quite noisy. The moving average tracks right through it. There's months way above this moving average and months way below. And the same is true, for example, for 2019 and 2020. And we talked about this period before at the moving average sheet. And we see it's very noisy there. We had this pre-halving pump, too early, then a correction, and then of course COVID as a kind of black swan, which really put a dent even in the moving average. But the moving average kept rising, and then here in the bull market it's all on track again. And actually see the same thing right now. Back then it felt like front running in 2019, front running the halving. We have that same talk about front running right now with the ETFs, where retail had the opportunity to front run Wall Street for the first time. So we had this too early before the halving pump, and then of course there was this dump after the halving because of government selling, Mt. Gox selling. But all in all, moving average was pretty stable and rising. So in my opinion, the flat bull market that we see in the price can be just optics. A rising trend disguised by noise and mixed signal. Because if this were a gradual growth from all the way from 15 to the current 63,000 Bitcoin price, then the RSI would be not this noisy, and we would be not that confused about this sideways Bitcoin price. And now it becomes really interesting. This is the Bitcoin realized price. So that's like the average cost price of Bitcoin. And there's 3 realized prices in this chart. The realized price, that looks at the whole history, price history, is 32,000 at the moment and rising. The 2-year realized price, that only looks at the last 2 years and the Bitcoins that were bought in those 2 years. The cost price of those Bitcoins is at 51,000 at the end of September and rising. And the very short-term 5-month realized price, light blue line, is at 63 and rising. Well, it's sort of flat, but last month it did rise a little bit. So I tweeted about this earlier, and I said, maybe you remember it, Bitcoin is the next stable coin, is now a stable coin because of this 8-month flat period. And I also tweeted 60,000 is the new 10,000. Why did I tweet that? Because this 2019-2020 period that we talked about before in the moving average chart and the RSI chart, it felt exactly the same like right now. It felt like boring, flat line, there will never be a bull market again, stock to flow failed, Bitcoin is dead, whatever. Actually, if you go further back, we had that same boring period in 2014 to 2016 at a much lower level, of course. Yet this is basically my opinion about this flat bull market at the moment. I think Bitcoin is most of the time in a boring flatline situation. And in fact, 3 of the 4 years are boring and nothing, and just some very short periods just after the halving caused those big jumps in price, those big fundamental and structural jumps in price. Fundamental and structural because Bitcoin jumps up and does not return. Of course, there is a crash after a big pump every time, but it will never return to that original level.
So, is Bitcoin's sideways movement just a phase or a sign of something bigger? PlanB's insights suggest that while it might feel like the market is stalling, this could be the calm before a significant breakout. With the halving just months away and major macro events on the horizon, Bitcoin could be gearing up for an all-time high. Make sure you subscribe to stay ahead of these market moves and catch the latest crypto updates.